Guest today is Alex but he doesn't even know it.
When someone asks for a discount, they don't usually say, hey, give me a discount. They usually say, hey, could you work on this price a little bit? Or hey, could you do this for a little less?
I have a few thoughts on this. You make a great point. That's why we haven't leaned into Instagram posts as much, because I feel like the type of advice that does really well, it's usually gimmicks. When we work with clients, we never tell them exactly what to say, because if you have a lot of things you think you need to remember, it doesn't come across as authentic, but you also get confused, you're not as present. It just throws you off.
I started laughing because I just remembered one of my most embarrassing stories.
That was exhibit A of why not to memorize anything. Just understand the logic behind it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Gentle Power. We don't have a guest today.
Yes.
Actually, we kind of do in a way with what we
yes.
do have planned.
Our guest today is Alex but he doesn't even know it.
Yeah. So there was a video that Alex Hormozy posted. It appeared on both of our feeds. I saw it a while ago, and it's around negotiations, and we wanted to pick it apart. I mean, it's very short, but yeah.
Your reaction to it.
Yeah.
I also want to call out that we're shooting at night. I'm curious what that looks like. Thank you for removing the plant. We got feedback from ChatGPT that it made our podcast look more like a lifestyle podcast, less, I guess, more into the, professional realm. So we're still experimenting.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah,
when I see it.
Now, I'm curious with the wall. We're getting a new wallpaper. So we're going to play the video and we're going to watch it live as well.
Yeah.
It's very short. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I have the time limit on my Instagram.
When someone asks for a discount, they don't usually say, hey, give me a discount. They usually say, hey, could you work on this price a little bit? Or hey, could you do this for a little less? And when someone says that, I just usually respond, well, I could do it for more. And I swear it just completely reframes the question of like, well, what are we talking about here? And I have used that to get out of the whole negotiation of this, because whenever someone's asking for a discount, they've already decided to buy, they're trying to get it for less. And the reason that it works so well is that it creates a negative anchor. So basically, they've already said yes mentally here, it's just a little bit uncomfortable. And as soon as you anchor above by saying I could do it for more, typically they'll just say like, shoot, I don't want the price to get away, I'll buy. And whenever I say that, tone matters a lot, right? So if you just say like, I could do it for more, like, yeah, of course, someone's gonna be like, well, this guy's a dick. You're like, I could do it for more. Like, it sounds a lot different, and that's what ultimately closes the sale. You'll get a laugh and you'll get a deal.
So I have a few thoughts on this.
Yeah.
One is that, and I'm looking at my notes. So he says that when someone is asking for a discount or a better deal, they've already decided they want to buy, but they're just asking for the sake of asking. I don't think that's necessarily true, but if it's true, then all his other tips after that are useless because they've already decided to buy. So that in and of itself defeats the purpose of the entire post.
He's saying if they do ask for a discount, then you've essentially closed the sale.
Yeah, he's like, if they're asking for a discount, they already decided to buy, but they're just asking for the sake of asking.
Yeah, so there's a built-in assumption there around this concept that he's sharing that may not necessarily be true. That's the problem with Instagram posts or short-form clips. Yeah. You just get a 30-second piece of advice or some tactic thrown at you, and it completely forgoes that there are a lot of assumptions or context, right? So I think at the very least, take this with a grain of salt, especially given that we just uncovered this one assumption that may not necessarily be true.
But if it is true, then what's the point of his entire video? Because it doesn't matter what you say if they've already decided to buy.
Right.
And I actually think it's not necessarily true. I think it does matter what you say, and they might walk away if you are firm. So there's that. There's number one. Number two is, I think you make a great point. That's why we haven't leaned into Instagram posts as much, because I feel like the type of advice that does really well, it's usually gimmicks. It's usually something like, whoa, you say this ABC phrase, that's so cool, sounds like it's going to work. But then when the time comes and you're in a situation similar to what they described, now you have to rummage through your brain like, oh, what was the exact phrasing?
Yeah.
And so it feels very gimmicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm reminded, we've brought this up a few times in past episodes, but I'm reminded of this one client that we had who is super stuck on word for word,
Yes.
what do I say when I am asked this question? What's my response? And I remember when we were coaching this client, we'd say, honestly, it's good to have the general idea of what you want to say, but
Yeah.
you don't want to memorize scripts because it comes off very inauthentic. And so we would practice on the calls. We would pretend to be the recruiter,
Yeah.
and this client would respond to the things, and they would get really hung up on having misplaced a word in a certain
Yeah.
in a certain sentence, and it just kept on coming out very robotic. So we really had to coach this one particular client that you don't want to go into these calls memorizing scripts or understanding exactly what tone you should say at this part of the sentence when if you pull this move in response to someone asking for a discount, things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you had a point as we were preparing for this episode.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're in the dating scene and if you're single, memorizing pickup lines
Yeah,
versus
exactly.
doing the important things like investing in hobbies and interests and building your self-confidence, getting good at things, working on yourself to naturally become attractive to others versus just what are all the pickup lines and jokes that I can deploy in various scenarios. Like that's probably going to come off very inauthentic, and that's the risk of using this line as shown in this Alex Hormozy video. He does mention that tonality matters a lot, but still it can come off very gimmicky if all of a sudden, and actually I just thought of this too. What if the other person has also heard about this tactic? I mean, Alex Hormozy has a huge following, and you know, if they realize that you are using a tactic, that could actually turn the vibes really,
Absolutely.
really poorly. Like things could go south in that call.
That reminds me of when people first started using ChatGPT to respond to emails. And yes, maybe the language is more polished and it seems more thoughtful than however you would have naturally phrased them, but it also backfires when someone's like, did you use ChatGPT to write a simple email?
Right.
This happened with us and I think a business partner of ours, or the email was so clearly written with ChatGPT.
Oh yeah.
The M dashes, the phrases, the emojis,
Yeah. And related to the dating part,
Yeah.
I think I remember you telling me a story about one of your friends who went on a date, and after the date they were chatting and your friend showed you the text and said, I'm pretty sure these were written by ChatGPT. And they were very, very formal, and so just it can come out very inauthentic.
Yeah, absolutely. When we work with clients, we never tell them exactly what to say. Again, because if you have a lot of things you think you need to remember, then it doesn't come across as authentic, but you also get like confused. You're not as present. It just throws you off. It does more damage, in my opinion, than good. What we do tell them, this is my third point, a commentary on this video, is to be good at communications, you need to actually change the way you see and think about things. So for example, we tell our clients, be collaborative, show excitement up front and throughout the conversation. Don't say yes or no on the spot. And those are general principles. Like, okay, I go into a mindset of collaborative. I'm not going to negotiate on the call. I'm going to show excitement. That's more of a mindset you go into, as opposed to, oh, to show excitement, I'm going to say ABC. So we just tell people the general principles. And what I love is explaining to them why we're advising they do something based off first principles. So I say show excitement because people want to work with people who want to be there, because negotiations sometimes can get a little bit annoying for the other party. And so by you having shown a lot of excitement and gratitude and collaboration, that kind of offsets some of the, annoying parts of a negotiation. And so people get the logic of it. Okay, I get it. Or like, don't share a number because it could be below top of their budget and they say yes, and now you've left money on the table. Or it could be above and you might turn them off. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. I shouldn't share a number. And then if they don't know exactly how to handle it, then we go into, for example, like when a recruiter asks you, what's your preferred salary? And we're like, don't give a number. And they're like, well, what do I give? They get the don't give a number part, but they're like, what do I do? And we're like, oh, you can Ask instead what their total budget is. The idea behind that is you turn the conversation onto them. So there is a generalizable idea here. I don't have to tell you, ask in this way, ABC. I'm generalizing the concept of the way to get out of a situation or a question you don't want to answer is to maybe ask a question back.
Yeah.
And bring the attention back onto them.
Yeah. And even so, when we do work with clients, we do practice with them on what to say, and we will give them examples of what would make sense to say. But we always say, put in your own voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't emphasize how strongly enough the authenticity part is.
Yeah.
If people come into calls seeming like that they have memorized things, that this also just like in public speaking,
Yes.
where they say that you shouldn't memorize your speech line by line. You should practice it so you fully understand the content of it, right? I started laughing because I just remembered one of my most embarrassing stories. Maybe I should just give a quick, because people
you were
are.
in college.
I was in college,
Okay,
yeah. So
cool.
very, very quick story, and it's not super. It was pretty embarrassing on the spot. So I went to a business competition so it was my senior year of college. Went to a business plan competition in El Paso, Texas. The University of El Paso was hosting a bunch of teams from different schools. You come with an idea, you pitch your idea, and you could win some money or something. And part of the business plan competition was you had to give a 60-second elevator pitch to everybody at the competition. It was during the business fair, right? So we were in this giant gymnasium. There were probably a few hundred people there, lots of students, professors, and other local business leaders. And so every team was to give a 60-second elevator pitch. And I was the one who was chosen because out of the team of 4 people, I was the one who had the original idea. It was basically a website that would show movie trailers. It was called the Trailer Post. And so I wrote the 60-second elevator pitch the night before, and I memorized it word for word. And so
Mistake number 1.
Yeah, and
mistake number 1 was writing it the night before.
yeah, right. Yeah, I was kind of cramming on that trip. So I memorized it word for word. I timed it perfectly so it would be 60 seconds. I was told the deadline, you would have only exactly 1 minute to do it. And so the elevator pitch part of the competition started. When it was my turn, I walked up to the stage and I started giving my elevator pitch. And it was going really, really well. I was probably at like second 45 or 50. But so here's the problem is when you memorize things is if you mentally stumble or forget, you can't pick back up from where you sort of have to go back to the beginning. And so things were flowing, everything was really great. And then at one point I just forgot the next sentence, and then I completely blanked, and I was in front of hundreds of people in this gym. And so I then just started kind of stuttering and mumbling, and it literally sounded like this. I was like, and then it and then you could when you can feel in the crowd like everyone starts feeling sorry for you. They're like, oh no, like this is real, this is about to be a train wreck. And so I just then on the spot told myself, okay, I kind of already burned some time with just the stuttering. I should just go to the final line, which was just saying the name of the business, which is called the Trailer Post. And so I think the final line was like, and that's the Trailer Post. And but then right when I said it, my voice cracked. So it came out like, and that's the Trailer Post. And then oh my gosh, after the worst part was so I had to walk back to where my team was, which was on the other side of the gym. And so I had to, after my elevator pitch, and there was kind of like applause, but it was like pity applause. Like they're like, oh, I had to walk through the entire gym in the middle of everybody to get back to where my team was. It was kind of like Moses when he had like parted the Red Sea, and it was just hundreds of faces who were just looking at me like you could tell they're just saying like, that's okay, it happens to the best of us. So anyway, all that to say, that is the risk of memorizing your speech. Don't do that. Don't memorize your sales scripts. Don't memorize, just you want to understand the context. And now I've shared. So this happened when I was in college. But still to this day with my family and like my closest friends who know this story, we'll just like randomly just say like, and that's the trailer post. And that's just become a part of our everyday life now. Yeah, one of my most embarrassing moments.
But you're such a good sport about it. Sometimes you'll mention it first.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so that was exhibit A of why not to memorize anything. Just understand the logic behind it.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I hope Alex Hormozi, what do you think if he sees our reaction to his video? What do you think he will say?
I don't know. He probably gets a lot of people who critique his stuff.
He's on LinkedIn Lunatics all the time. I recently learned a good friend of mine has been on it several times because he tried
LinkedIn Lunatics.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's a subreddit it's like a subgroup on Reddit where people post ridiculous things from LinkedIn. But my friend has been on it a couple times because he does try to write kind of ridiculous things so he can go viral.
Yeah,
so.
nice.
But yeah,
any publicity is good publicity, I guess. In this,
for Alex Hormozi especially, I'm sure he's like, wow, more people are talking about me.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
Okay, cool. We'll see you on the next episode of
Bye.
Gentle Power.